Let me tell you a story about a 50-year-old Texas woman, Sarah Hartsfield. Sarah has been married 5 good times, and each of these marriages ended in tragedy. Her fifth husband was Joseph Hartsfield, but unfortunately, Joseph never lived to tell his own part of the story. Little background story. Sarah and Joseph met in 2021 in an online dating site. One thing led to another, they started communicating. Before you knew it, Joseph invited Sarah to come meet his family. In fact, the young man was filled with, enthusiasm to meet Sarah. And he invited Sarah to come have his family Thanksgiving with him and his family. Right there on the dining table, one very unfortunate thing happened. Joseph's mom felt everything was off about Sarah. And as a mother that she is, she drew her son by the side and she was like, Joseph, how long have you known this woman? And Joseph was like, we've known for a few months. And the mother was, and you want to get married to her? It's already known to the mother that Sarah has a son and she doesn't have custody of that son. So everything felt off to this woman, and she was trying to convince Joseph to take things slowly, that a woman that has just one son and doesn't have custody to her son won't be a responsible woman to get married to. But Joseph was blinded by love, probably by Sarah's beauty. And he was like, Mom, you don't even know Sarah. I mean, you just need to take your time to study her. She's a wonderful woman. And the mother was like, okay, if that is what makes you happy, why not? And she gave her blessings. A few weeks after Joseph introduced Sarah to his family, they got married. That was when Sarah's true character came out. In fact, she turned into a wolf. Little arguments like this, Sarah will lock Joseph up in the house and go away with the key. In fact, she will stay out for like 6-7 hours and Joseph will be indoors. And because Joseph is a peace-loving man, whenever she comes back, she opens the door and Joseph goes about his business as if nothing happened. Joseph used to be a member of the US Army. By the way, Joseph is 48 years old. So in his mid-20s, Joseph developed diabetes. And by the time he met with Sarah, he was already retired from service of the army. So he was working other jobs, trying to keep himself busy. Despite the fact that Joseph is diabetic, he has successfully managed his diabetic condition very well, to the extent that you won't even know that he's diabetic. So when Sarah came into Joseph's life, Sarah became very controlling with finance. In fact, every dime that Joseph has won't stay with him. Everything must be transferred to her. At the time, Joseph was doing like 3 different jobs. He was doing 3 different shifts in order to please his wife, Sarah. But still, Sarah was not pleased. He picks on Joseph, picks up fights at any slightest thing, telling him how he doesn't make enough money to sustain the both of them. She succeeded in isolating Joseph from his family. In fact, she warned all Joseph's family that nobody should come visiting and nobody should call him on the phone. So whenever Joseph wants to communicate with his family member, the guy had to hide somewhere in order for Sarah not to find out, because if she finds out, it will be trouble all day. So at a point, which was in 2022, Joseph got tired. He was fed up. The guy was looking for a way to, run off, to leave Sarah and run away from the marriage. But he was so scared that he doesn't even know how to do it. If you remember that Sarah has been married to 5 different men, and those men ended up in one mysterious way or the other, Joseph got so scared that he couldn't even take a move. But one day he summoned courage. He packed few of his belongings and he ran off to his mom's. After narrating the whole thing to the mother said, fine, you can stay. You don't have to go back. You don't have to continue with the marriage. You can stay here as long as you are. But a few days later, Joseph started nursing the feeling of going back to Sarah. In my head, what is wrong with Joseph? Joseph went back to Sarah, and when he came back, the first thing he did he called his mom on phone and he dropped a voicemail for his mother. And in the voicemail, he was like, hey mom, I went home preparing to be shot, but nothing happened. I love you. That was the last time the mother ever heard from Joseph. A few days later, Joseph was bundled like a vegetable to the hospital. What happened earlier, before he was taken to the hospital, is that Sarah called 911, and when the 911 arrived, Joseph was in an unstable condition, so they had to rush him to the hospital. On getting to the hospital, the doctors did everything. They ran series of tests. Remember, I told you earlier that Joseph has been diabetic, and he has successfully managed his diabetic condition for more than 20 years. And the hospital tried everything in their best. They ran series of tests, but what they found in Joseph's body will shock you. They found a very high dose of insulin in Joseph's system, which is actually very detrimental to his health because he is diabetic. Now the hospital is wondering, how did a man that know he has diabetes and he has successfully managed his diabetic condition for more than 20 years, how did he go about taking a very high dose of insulin, which will eventually harm him? So everything was looking somehow, and the hospital started asking questions. They started asking Sarah question. At this minute, she will say something else, and when you ask her again, she will give a different account altogether, a different statement altogether. She will be like, oh, I was in the room sleeping, and when I came out, I saw him unconscious and I called the 911. In another minute, she will say, in fact, I went for shopping, and when I came back, I saw him unconscious and I called the 911. Different stories altogether. So the hospital felt, yes, something is off. So they involved the police and investigation started. So while the investigation was going on, they went to Joseph's apartment. So when they got there, they saw 10 pens of insulin. Should I say 10 bottles of insulin beside his bed? Did he do this to himself? It wasn't looking as if he was the one that did that to himself. So Sarah was the only person closest to him at that point in time, and they lived together. So she was, arrested, and the case was taken to court. Remember, I told you earlier that Sarah was married to 5 different men. In fact, Joseph is the 5th husband that she has been married to. So when the case was before the court, it made more sense for the court to open her previous file, because she had cases previously which she walked away freely without being convicted. So they opened all those files. The first one was in 2018. Sarah shot her then fiancé, David Braggs. And when the case was brought before the court, she claimed self-defense. Yes, she claimed she was just defending herself against the man being aggressive, and she shot the guy. Sarah walked out of the court a free woman. It was also discovered that she asked her 4th husband to go and kill the wife of her 3rd husband. When she was brought before the court also, she denied it blatantly, and because there was no enough evidence to nail her down, she also walked out of the court a free woman. And also she burnt the house of 4th husband. She set the house on fire, thinking the guy was inside for the guy to be burnt alive, but unknowingly to her, the guy was never inside the house. Her 4th husband and her 3rd husband got a restricting order, and when they open all this file, there's a pattern. In fact, any man that tries to leave her or makes an attempt to leave her, she will end up the man's life, and she has been going scot-free. In fact, I don't know, is it that she has a way of doing it, or she has power somewhere? Because I do not see a reason why someone who does all these things still walk out scot-free without being convicted. It was also discovered that before she called 911 in Joseph's case, a message was sent from Joseph's phone to her own phone, and that message contains the details of Joseph's bank account. So was she planning to kill Joseph and take away everything he has worked for? Maybe she was feeling Joseph will just die and he will be buried and everything will end like that, and she'll walk scot-free like she has been doing. Because if you look at the pattern, she actually planned everything out very, very well. She gave this guy high dose of insulin, making it look that this guy overloaded himself with insulin, and at the end of the day, she might end up walking out freely, if not that the court did their due diligence in this matter. Thankfully, Sarah was convicted of the murder of Joseph, and she was sentenced to life in prison. She's spending the rest of her life in prison. Remember, this thing happened in 2023, but recently she was just convicted. Justice has been served, but there is no amount of justice that will replace the loss that Joseph's family, especially his mom, had gone through. It's so unfortunate. I would like you to share your opinion about this in the comment section, and if this is your first time of coming across my video, do where to follow for more true life stories.